Sukiotu and a very good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the MSBS Weekly Guided Meditation by Phra Goh. Today is the 12th of March 2024. We'd like to extend a great welcome to all new viewers to this channel. We are very grateful to have with us 𝐵𝐻 Adhibalo, popularly known as Phra Goh, to conduct this weekly session. This week, we are continuing on the subject of Maha Satipatthana. 𝐵𝐻 will be leading the homage to the Buddha and taking a 5 precept for Buddhists. Now let us compose our minds, put our palms together and welcome 𝐵𝐻. Over to you, 𝐵𝐻.
Okay, thank you, Terence. So now we are going to pay respects to the Buddha by bowing 3 times. First bow, second bow, third bow. Okay, and we do the opening chant, the homage. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. 3 refuges. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Saṅghāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Saṅghāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Saṅghāṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. And 5 precepts. Pāṇātipātā vēramaṇī sikkhapaдаṃ samadhiyāmi. Adinādāna vēramaṇī sikkhapadaṃ samadhiyāmi. Kāmesu micchācārā vēramaṇī sikkhapadaṃ samadhiyāmi. Musāvādā vēramaṇī sikkhapadaṃ samadhiyāmi. Suramēraya majjapamādāṭthāna vēramaṇī sikkhapadaṃ samadhiyāmi. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so good evening to everyone. We are still continuing this sutta, this Maha Satipatthana Sutta, on the 4 foundations of mindfulness. And I think we are going to finish very soon. We are at the last segment, at the mindfulness of this Dhamma. The 4th foundation of mindfulness already. So we've already covered like the 7 factors of enlightenment. So like mentioned in the previous session, the 4th foundation is arranged more or less in line with the 4 noble truths. So the first noble truth talks about suffering. So whereas in this categorization talks about the symptoms of suffering, which are the 5 hindrances, and we look at the 5 aggregates, also part of suffering, right? The first noble truth, the 5 clinging aggregates of suffering, so you understand 5 aggregates. And the next, or the third portion, talks about this cause of suffering. Depends on the senses, what are the fetters that arise, or what makes you cling to your sense objects. So that's the cause of suffering, second noble truth, with regard to the 6 senses. And the third noble truth talks about cessation. And the cessation, the symptoms of cessation, is these 7 factors of awakening. And we're going to move on. Next slide. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so we covered this like last session. So the 7 factors of awakening is the symptoms of detachment. So because detachment, anybody can say, oh, I detach already. But what is the benchmark? Yeah, what is the telltale sign? What is there for you to confirm for yourself? Because Dhamma is to be seen by oneself, right? So this is the experiential part. If there is any kind of detachment taking place, it will have to be in line with the 7 factors of awakening. So even Venerable Sariputta mentioned that these 7 factors of awakening is the doorway to enlightenment, the gateway. So once you enter the gateway, it's not enlightenment yet. If a person experiences these 7 factors, still not yet enlightenment, it's just a gateway. And you need to continue be mindful, because after the gateway, it's a journey. It depends on how long you take. So this journey, we'll talk about it later on as a time frame. Okay, next slide. So also to promote the upcoming retreat, the theme is called the Way of the Dragon. So if you look at the previous slide, yeah, the Buddha and the Naga and the 7 factors of awakening. So that's the theme of the upcoming retreat in June. You can refer to the poster for more info during the break. So I'll just carry on the next segment. Okay, next slide. Okay, so once a person experiences this so-called cessation, then a person will more or less have an idea of the 4 noble truths. Yeah, so now this is according to this arrangement of this Satipatthana, the Dhammanusati. So this 5th categorization is called the 4th noble truth. That's the path leading to the end of suffering. So we're just going to briefly read this particular portion, 4 noble truths. Furthermore, the monk remains focused on mental qualities in and of themselves with reference to the 4 noble truths. And how does he remain focused on mental qualities in and of themselves with reference to the 4 noble truths? There is a case where he discerns, as it has come to be, that this is stress, this is the origination of stress, this is the cessation of stress, this is the way leading to the cessation of stress. Right, so this is again 4 noble truths in a nutshell. So a person can understand the 4 noble truths in theory, or they can understand the 4 noble truths in experience. So it is believed that only a stream enterer will have a glimpse of the 4 noble truths, and only an arahant will fully understand the 4 noble truths. So when we talk about the 7 factors of awakening, that's the doorway sort of into the stream or against the stream of craving. Then you have an idea what is this cessation, cessation of stress. And we're going to move on to the next slide. Okay, so this is a bit lazy, so we're going to just briefly recap for those who are rather new to Buddhism, but this will be the definition. So why is it called Dhammanusati, mindfulness of phenomena? In fact, when we take refuge in the triple gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha, so the Dhamma jewel, we have 6 qualities. So one of the 6 qualities is this Dhamma is to be seen here and now, without delay. So the Buddha taught many things, and not all of them may fit into the Dhamma gem. Like the Buddha talk about, the different realms and what Devas fighting and Asuras fighting. So all these things may not be relevant to this here and now. So you want to talk about here and now kinds of Dhammas. Then the 4th foundation of mindfulness kinds of narrow down the definition, so it's a bit more specific. So then just read through the first noble truth. Now, what is the noble truth of stress? Right, birth is stressful. So that's the first point. Second, aging is stressful, death is stressful, sorrow, lamentation, pain, distress, despair is stressful. Association with the unbeloved is stressful. Separation from the loved is stressful. Not getting what one wants is stressful. In short, the 5 clinging aggregates are stressful. So we covered earlier on in the past lessons the 5 clinging aggregates. So that's the first noble truth. And when we talk about the 5 hindrances, 5 hindrances. Now, when a person experiences sloth and torpor, doubt, restlessness, is because of the first few things, right? Because you experience might be separation from loved one, not getting what you want. That's why the mind is restless. The mind is always worrying. So all these are symptoms, symptoms of suffering. Or you get greed and anger. You don't get what you want. You get upset. You get angry. Or you want to have greed, you want to get something that you do not have. So all these are symptoms of suffering, hindrances. And we talk about, in short, the 5 clinging aggregates are stressful, are suffering. Right? So all the above mentioned. Interestingly, the Thai formula never mentioned about sickness. Right? Normally we talk about birth, aging, sickness, death. So in the Thai formula, talk about birth, aging, death, no sickness. Right? So somehow they cut short. So probably in the Sri Lankan and the Burmese edition, they will have sickness inside. So this is also probably the cut and paste formula you can find in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. They also miss out the sickness. Okay, next slide. So now this is like the definition of the different types of suffering. And what is birth? Whatever birth, taking birth, descent, coming to be, coming forth, appearance of aggregates, and acquisition of sense spheres of the various beings in this or that group of beings, that is called birth. So interestingly, this is wide spectrum. So we talk about descent. Right, descent we covered in this Maha Sankhaya Sutta in the past series before. That's one of the birth process during conception. Descent of like a Gandhabba needs to take place. Right, so that is one definition of birth. Coming forth, appearance of aggregates. Okay, coming forth, I would interpret as becoming. When you become, when you come into a kind of existence, I might combine with becoming. So that is another kind of birth. If you sort of appear in your own dramas, you create a certain drama in the mind, that reality is real for you. So that is one kind of birth. So normally in the meditation phase, I will, maybe when we do the 4 sublime states, I'll ask you not to visualize, because it's very easy to create dramas. Then you get sucked into dramas, or you appear in the dramas, you get entangled in the dramas. Then that is a kind of birth coming forth, right? So that is already like becoming. And the next one, appearance of aggregates. Appearance of aggregates would be whenever the thought formation arises. So that could be before coming forth. A person may not cling. They may not get involved in the story. But whatever thought appears, that is already a kind of birth. So this is a micro kind of birth. Earlier on we talked about descent, so that's a more macro kind of birth during conception, and taking birth, that's a macro kind of birth. And acquisition of sense spheres of the various beings in this or that group of beings. Right, so that is also in the macro sense. If a person sort of physically go into another kind of birth, so that is one definition. That is called birth. So the Buddha defined birth in the whole entirety or wide spectrum. And if you want to talk about the here and now Dhammas, probably the here and now would be, coming forth and this appearance of aggregates. So that is the here and now, it can be seen. If you want to talk about descent or appearance of sense spheres with various kinds of beings, that one you might need to acquire other special ability. You need to recall the past or look into the future. But if you do not have these abilities, then you might need to wait for your next life, which won't be in line with the 6 qualities of the Dhamma to be seen here and now. So if the part to be seen here and now, kind of Dhamma, would be the appearance of aggregates every moment. These aggregates arising, and you have the fetters through the sense spheres. That's how a person gets into becoming. So that is the here and now kind of dharmas. And we have case studies of, even in the Buddha's time, monks who do not have abilities to see past lives and they get enlightened. They are arahants. So you kind of stream down, narrow down the kind of birth that you really need to investigate. So the here and now dhammas would be the appearance of aggregates. Moment to moment, you see something, aggregates appear. You think of something, aggregates appear. You hear something, aggregates appear. So these are the here and now kind of dhammas to be investigated. And the next part would be aging. What is aging? Whatever aging, decrepitude, brokenness, graying, wrinkling, declining of life force, weakening of faculties, and the various beings in this or that group of beings, that is called aging. Right, so this one is, we normally reflect in our impurities of body meditation. We think of the hair, nails, teeth, skin, how they go through birth, aging, sickness, death. So that is one of the contemplations. And the next one, what is death? Whatever decreasing, passing away, breaking up, disappearance, dying, death, completion of time, breaking up of the aggregates, casting off of the body, interruption of the life faculty of the various beings in this or that group of beings, that is called death. So here is also a wide spectrum. Whatever decreasing, so it can be any kind of change of intensity of the feelings, pleasant, unpleasant feelings, when they change, so that is one kind of decreasing or increasing. There will be birth. Passing away, it will be passing away of the aggregates, moment-to-moment aggregates, and it could be physical death, right? Breaking up, disappearance, dying, death, completion of time, breaking up of the aggregates, right? So there's a difference between passing away of the aggregates and breaking up of the aggregates. Breaking up of the aggregates would be literal physical dying. So you talk about casting off the body, interruption of life faculty, so that's the physical death. Okay, so we have another wide spectrum of death. So we talk about a here and now Dhammas. You don't have to wait until your deathbed or after death to see the Dhamma. Even when we're healthy, when we're alive, that's the best time to investigate and see the Dhamma. So when we investigate birth and death, it can be the body, it can be the breath, it can be any phenomenon. There will be birth and death. That's part of this law of impermanence. Okay, next slide. What is sorrow? Whatever sorrow, sorrowing, sadness, inward sorrow, inward sadness of anyone suffering from misfortune, touched by a painful thing, that is called sorrow. Right, so when we contemplate on the sublime state of compassion, I will ask you not to over-imagine, not to dramatize, not to visualize, because if we start to think of a certain, this person, wow, so sad, got misfortune and full of pain, what kind of disease they have, what kind of war they experience, then you'll experience sorrow. And that is the definition of suffering. So when we practice meditation, we're actually learning how to get out of suffering. But if you get caught up in the dramas and you get stuck with this sorrow, then if you kind of prolong this sorrow, it becomes depression. Right? So we're supposed to get out of sorrow and suffering, and now we get into suffering, which is not the aim of meditation. All right, so we need to differentiate between the conventional kind of compassion versus the middle way compassion. Right, so conventional compassion, we need to worry, which is one of the hindrances. We need to experience this sorrow and sadness so that we can interact accordingly. We are social creatures, so we can interact accordingly, but we must also learn how to recharge the mind. So recharging the mind requires some form of detachment. Clinging is very draining, getting involved and associating with the aggregates, very suffering. Okay, then the next one, and what is lamentation? Whatever crying, grieving, lamenting, weeping, wailing, lamentation of anyone suffering from misfortune, touched by painful feeling, that is called lamentation. So lamentation would be one more step after sorrow. There will be like a physical expression of crying and weeping, wailing. So that is similar to sorrow but more expressive. And what is pain? Whatever experience has bodily pain, bodily discomfort, pain or discomfort born of bodily contact, that is called pain. So it is very similar to the second aggregate, painful feeling. Painful feeling. That is why towards the end of the definition of suffering, they call the 5 clinging aggregates is suffering. And interestingly, we cling to pain. That's why we are not free from suffering. So when the Buddha says an enlightened person is free from suffering, they also experience pain. Like the Buddha got backache, he need to lie down, or he need to change posture. So there are pains, but the mind is free from pain. So that's the difference. So an untrained person will cling on to the pain, whereas a trained person will not cling on to the pain. And what is distress? Whatever is experienced as mental pain, mental discomfort, pain or discomfort born of mental contact, that is called distress. So the difference between pain and distress, so down here distress is more mental, pain down here is more physical. Okay, next slide. Okay, And what is despair? Whatever despair, despondency, desperation of anyone suffering from misfortune, touched by painful thing, that is called despair. Right, so very similar to the previous few definitions. And what is the stress association with the unbeloved? There is the case where undesirable, unpleasing, unattractive sights, sounds, aromas, flavors, or tactile sensations occur to one, or one has connection, contact, relationship, interaction with those who wish one ill, who wish for one's harm, who wish for one's discomfort, who wish for no security from the yoke. This is called the stress of association with the unbeloved. So it's not just enemies disguised of friends, unwholesome company, anybody who dislike you. This will create not just unpleasant feelings, but also might give rise to aversion. So we have to watch the factors involved. So even in the Buddha's time, or we take the Buddha as example, the Buddha is also not free from criticism, not free from praise and blame. So there are people who also criticize the Buddha, and that doesn't mean the Buddha is still in suffering. Right? Physically, in the secular world, this is part of samsara, birth, aging, sickness, death. All these things are part of samsara. But even talk about freeing the mind, you need to uncling from the 5 clinging aggregates. Okay, next slide. So this one, what is the stress or separation from the loved? There is the case where desirable, pleasing, attractive sights, sounds, aromas, flavors, tactile sensations do not occur to one, or one has no connection, no contact, no relationship, no interaction with those who wish one well, who wish for one's benefit, who wish for one's comfort, who wish one's security from the yoke, nor with one's mother, father, brother, sister, friends, companions, or relatives. This is called the stress of separation from the loved. So whoever cares for you and they depart, then this will occur. So interestingly, like the previous slide, this one has 2 portions. Not just the physical person, but moment to moment sense contact. Right, whatever desirable, pleasing, attractive sights, sounds, aromas, flavors. So the Buddha mentioned the 6 sense contact. It's not just any person that leaves you. Any aroma that you like leaves you. Any thought, imagination that's nice that leave you. Any attractive sounds that leave you. That is also separation from the loved. So it can be contemplated moment to moment. Alright, so there's both likes and dislikes. Next slide. And what is the stress of not getting what one wants? In being subject to birth, the wish arises, oh, may we not subject to birth, and may birth not come to us. But this is not to be achieved by wishing. This is the stress of not getting what one wants in being subject to aging, illness, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, sorrow, despair. The wish arises, oh, may we not be subject to aging, illness, sorrow, lamentation, pain, distress, and despair. And may aging, illness, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, distress, and despair not come to us. But this is not to be achieved by wishing. This is the stress of not getting what one wants. So the Buddha very clearly mentioned here, you cannot wish for it, you need to work your way to free yourself from this suffering. Okay, next. And what are the 5 clinging aggregates? That in short are stress. Form is a clinging aggregate, feeling the clinging aggregate, perception as a clinging aggregate, fabrications as a clinging aggregate, consciousness as a clinging aggregate. These are called the 5 clinging aggregates that in short are stress. This is called the noble truth of stress. So today, one like half an hour lesson, we can cover the first noble truth on stress. So we also covered this previously on the Dhammanusati, the second point. We already explained in detail on the 5 clinging aggregates. So every moment to moment, the form aggregate will be the 4 elements: earth, fire, wind, water. Feeling aggregate will be the pleasant, unpleasant, neutral feelings, or this some people interpret or translate as painful feeling, pleasant feeling, or neither neutral nor painful feeling. And the third aggregate is called perception. Some will translate as memory, and based on what you recall, or rather whatever you experience now, the mind will try to make sense of what it is by past experiences. So you need to dig out past memories and try to cognize what you are perceiving now. So that is perception. Fabrications as clinging aggregates. So fabrications would be mental formations, whatever thought that arise. That would be a kind of fabrication. So you want to talk about detail, we have verbal fabrications, we have bodily fabrications. Then there's consciousness as a clinging aggregate. So consciousness would be the 6 sense consciousness: your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. So if you are aware with what you are seeing, that is your eye consciousness. If you are aware of what you're hearing, that is your ear consciousness, so on and so forth with all the senses. Alright, so that's the 5 clinging aggregates. So we'll stop the sharing here for today. If not, it'll be too heavy. Any questions at the moment?
Hi, Bante.
Yes. Hi, Roy.
Bante, yeah, it's me, Roy. Yeah. Bante, when just now you talk about the 5 aggregate, right? Just want to confirm about this fabrication. I think it's what fabrication aggregate,
Yeah.
or so I think maybe it's perception, right? You say want to recall or make sense of the past experience using cognitive feelings. In this case, when we recall past memory, right? Why are we trying to cling on to? I just want to understand from that perspective.
Okay. So perception or past memories, sometimes we may have certain biasness, opinions and biasness and stuff like that. So it's all shaped by perception. So it's because of clinging to perception, then that will lead us to maybe inflexible kind of thinking or stubbornness or whatever you want to call it. So that is perception.
Okay. How about fabrication in this case? Can you elaborate a little bit more on the
Okay, so
fabrication?
the fabrication, I always use the finger pointing experiment. The moment your thought is formed, anything is formed, that is fabrication. So like right now, if we want to experiment, you can point your finger up, and we can use that finger to point to what or where is your area of attention. So if you are looking at the screen, then your attention is towards the screen, right?
Okay,
So you point at the screen. So if you're not paying attention to the screen, where is your attention now?
on my finger now, because I paying attention to this finger.
Is it always on the finger?
No, it drifted.
Yeah. So the moment it drifts, that's a new formation. When it
Oh,
drifts again, that's a new formation.
okay.
Yeah. So one of the investigation of the impermanence, the birth and death of the aggregates, would be this moment to moment arising and passing of the aggregates. Okay?
Yeah. Then, sorry, I got one more question for just me.
Okay, yep.
Yeah. So when we do meditation, when you teach us the form, the meditation you gave to us, right? My thoughts keep on wondering. Like sometimes you
Yeah.
say, we say, oh, every time every time share with us, oh, wishing the hair well and happy, correct, just so and so forth. But sometimes the mind will be shifting. So is that part of fabrication aggregate? Like I
Yes.
clean.
Yes, that is right. Yeah. So if a person still has craving, which is a cause of suffering, they will crave for the stray thought. Anything more interesting than your meditation object, they will cling to it. Or new drama, very nice. Then the mind will create more stories, very nice. Very entertaining movie in the mind. More entertaining than your meditation object. So the mind will drift. So that is clinging to the stray thoughts. So the whole idea of meditation is not to have no stray thoughts. There will be fabrications. And the mind is subject to the 5 clinging aggregates is impermanent. If you expect your mind to be permanent, to be fixated there and not move, then you'll have a lot of suffering. It's against the law of impermanence. So there will be lots of formations going around. The synapses of the brain or whatever activity, thousands and thousands of processes are going on. So the whole idea is learning to not cling to the aggregates. So the samatha part, where we focus on a concept like wishing a certain part of the body well and happy, or wishing the elements well and happy, that is like using ideology to bring the mind together. That is the samatha part. And the wisdom part is reflect on impermanence, so that you can let go and not want to cling on to this phenomenon. So these are the 2 training aspects.
Then in terms of training my Bante, then when we do meditate, right, how do we know that actually we actually I already improve already? How, because sometimes what you say, right, I always have aggregate, my mind is restless. To be honest, I also have a restless mind.
Correct.
So I keep on thinking, flying my thoughts. For example, I do Bhutto, maybe the nose. But once maybe I be able to really to focus on it. How do I know that actually, actually I really improve already? I don't dare to say I go to jhana, but how am I going to work towards to the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, and fourth jhana in this case?
Okay, so different meditation objects will have different types of or different range of jhanas, different samadhi. Right. So if you want to talk about going through the different levels of concentration, like the first, second, third, fourth, usually the breath meditation can do it. If like in our routine, if you want to experience like the first 4 jhanas, we may need to switch between the different sublime states. Like the first level of the first sublime state, loving kindness, can enter the first level. And if a person straight away, let's say they practice compassion, and they may not enter the first level, they straight away enter the second level. So different meditation objects have different limitations, got their pros and cons. So if a person, let's say they do Bhutto recitation only, without combining with the breath, for example, it's just purely Bhutto, then they may not even enter the first 4 levels of jhanas. If they happen to enter concentration, in my opinion, it will directly enter into a formless concentration. And that would be the 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th level of, normally the 6th level of concentration. So they will skip the first 4 levels of concentration totally. So if let's say a person practice appreciative joy, if they do it correctly, they will enter the 3rd level of concentration. So they will skip the first and the second. So this is the limitation, pros and cons of different meditation objects.
Okay.
So most of the Thai forest tradition, because the founder of the Thai forest tradition is Long Pu Man, and his main meditation object is Bhutto. Right, so I don't think he teaches the jhanas, like how to enter the first, second, third, fourth, and so on. So it's probably like a few generations, 1 or 2 generations later, some of his disciples or the disciples may attempt to revive the jhanas by importing other practices. Yeah. Okay, all right. Any other issues, questions?
Hi, Bante. I want to ask about the 7 factor of awakening.
Okay.
Is it only to be experienced during meditation or daily life?
Daily life.
Oh,
Yeah, because meditation is by right every moment. Right. So if you want to look at the 4 foundation of mindfulness holistically, the first foundation of mindfulness of the body, we already talked about all the postures. Any posture, any activity, even while eating, even when going to the washroom, talking to people, that is an opportunity for the 5 aggregates to work already. It's working all the time. Right? So likewise in the third foundation of mindfulness, whatever spatial awareness you have, you can be focused on the screen, you can be daydreaming, you can be relaxed, you can be aware of your surroundings, widens sphere of attention, the mind can be restricted, expanded, whatever it is. That is also opportunity for attachment or detachment. Depends on how you seize the opportunity. So if a person is seated in maybe full lotus posture, they may not be meditating also. They can be daydreaming and not applying the right kind of reflection. So it's not about sitting. It's about how you contemplate correctly.
And in relation to jhana, so it's like 7 factor of awakening and jhana is different thing, right?
Yes, it's a different thing. So if you want, in our routine, what we do, if let's say we do the impurities of the body meditation, the visualization of the parts of the body won't lead to jhanas. Yeah, the visualization of the body won't lead to jhanas. The most, it will just calm the mind to a baseline or neutral kind of emotion. Then once we think of impermanence on the parts of the body, and that may trigger the 7 factors of awakening. So you think of hair and die and grow, and suddenly you feel so joyful. Then okay, that might trigger the 7 factors of awakening. So that is experiencing the 7 factors without the jhanas. And if we move on to the next routine, when we do the 4 sublime states, let's say we just wish all beings well and happy, then the mind will enter jhanas first, the first level of concentration. So it will have a different kind of pleasant emotion and very different from the 7 factors of awakening. And once we think of impermanence, then that might trigger the 7 factors of awakening. And interestingly, in that particular practice, the part when we think of impermanence with the loving kindness will have the combination of both the jhanas and the 7 factors of awakening. So in order to differentiate the two, that's why we do the impurities of the body meditation first, to let one experience what is the 7 factors of awakening, if they do happen to trigger them, and if they practice maybe the 4 sublime states, then we have the samatha portion, which will be the jhanas, and the insight portion, which is in tandem with jhanas. Okay, hopefully that clarifies. Any other questions?
Bante, sorry, just one more question.
Okay.
Apologize. Yeah. So when we meditate, right, when we feel calm, can I safely say that I actually have improved in this case? I don't know how do I define what's the definition of my meditation? Did I be better, or did I improve the way I do meditation, or so on and so forth? Is calm like one of the factors to
Yeah,
gauge
it's
myself?
to me, I would say it's moment to moment. It's not just while sitting. Every moment, when even like talking right now, you're working with environment, how you react to the factors. When you see something, you hear something, smell thing, taste and touch, how do you react? Is it with greed or anger? So that will apply even when you're sitting. If daily life, you already like to react with greed and anger to anything, or nice food, wow, I already eat like hungry ghost, then in sitting, you can force yourself to sit for hours. Most probably you're still chasing the stimuli. It's not real detachment yet. So after a person claim to be sitting for so long or so many years, and they come out, they still behave like full of greed or anger, then that is not real improvement.
Okay, thank you, Bhante.
Okay, all right, no problem. Okay, anyone else? Any questions or issues? If not, then we can go for a 5-minute break, and you can take your time to think of questions also, and also possible the topic for the next series. If let's say this sutta happens to finish in the next lesson, you can come up with some suggestions. All right, so we can go for a 5-minute break. See you all later. Yeah, so this is the advertisement for the June's retreat. And you can take your time to take a picture or scan. Okay, I am back. Let's see who else has returned. Okay, anyone has any interesting suggestions on the next topic you all want to discuss, or any questions you all have?
Bhante,
Yes.
sorry. Just now you're saying whether what are topics to discuss, right?
Yeah.
I know, I know you may have shared this previously, but I was thinking if the Mangala Sutta, right, was one, or maybe you can talk about the gratitude, because Qingming coming, so
Okay.
show gratitude towards to our ancestors,
Okay.
to commemorate them, lah.
Okay.
That's
About ancestors and gratitude.
yeah.
Okay, so take note of it. Thank you for the interesting suggestion. Very timely, on the right occasion also. Yeah. When do you all start burning already? When do people start burning?
I heard April, first week of April, I'm going to for the anniversary for my
Ah,
I mean the Qingming for my grandparents,
okay.
yeah.
All right. Can. Okay, has everyone returned? You can turn on the screen to show that you're back. Okay, and if you are all here, or most people are here, then we can start the guided meditation session. So we're going to find a comfortable posture, make sure the back is upright and the rest of the body relaxed. Okay, so we are going to to the first phase of meditation called the impurities of the body meditation. So we're going to make sense using one meditation subject and interpret with the four foundations of mindfulness. So now we are going to visualize all the hairs of the head, hairs of the body. Right, so this object of meditation, we call this mindfulness of the body, part of the first foundation of mindfulness, 32 parts of the body, foulnessness of the body. And by visualizing, you are actually using the mind sense door. So that's part of the Dhamma, mindfulness of the Dhamma. You're using your six senses in the visualization. Your eyes are closed, so whatever is happening, you visualize is in your mind. And whatever you perceive, the hairs, that's using your five aggregates, using your memory, perception. How does the shape look like? Does it actually look like your own hair? Is the length, the shape, the color, is it exactly the same? So you're using past memories. It may not be photographic memory kind of accurate, but at least there's something there. And there will be feelings. There's the feeling aggregate or mindfulness of the feeling also, whether you find hair pleasant, neutral or unpleasant. So most meditation systems will just leave it as there. They'll just ask you, okay, just visualize the body or visualize one part of the body. And that will have a problem, because if your hair, you find it pleasant, then there will be a tendency of greed. I like my hair, the fashion's so nice. Then you tendency to react with greed. And if, let's say, you have unpleasant feeling, oh yeah, the hair so ugly, so disgusting, I don't like the fashion, then you tend to react with aversion. So we are first going to apply the middle way. We've already covered the Four Noble Truths. We're going to cover probably in the next lesson. So we are going to apply the right thought. So these thoughts of loving kindness, we're going to wish all the hairs well and happy, to overcome the craving of aversion. So there will naturally be pleasant and unpleasant feeling. Now we cannot change it. The only thing we can change is our reaction, our habitual kind of reaction. So once you think of a new patch of hair, wish it well and happy. New patch of hair, well and happy. And then we can compare the emotion or the state of mind before and after the reflection of these hairs. An angry mind or a mind without anger, a greedy mind, a mind without greed. So in this case we're using loving kindness, so it's a comparison between a mind of anger versus a mind with not so much anger. Okay, then we can observe how the mind or this craving settle down. If the mind is settling, there's a correlation with craving also. That means the craving also subsiding. Part of the Four Noble Truths, cessation of craving or reduction of this craving. And with loving kindness, it's still can settle the mind to a certain extent. Because craving has mainly two kinds, greed and anger. So we only covered the anger portion. We still haven't tackled the greed and the delusion, the clinging part. And we can tackle these two with impermanence. So once the mind is quite settled, then we can reflect on impermanence of the hairs. All the hairs go through birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So we can think of the hairs growing and falling, many, many cycles. And as we keep looping these images, then we can keep labeling impermanence or any word or phrase associated with impermanence. You can call it birth and death. You can call it rising and falling, origination, passing away. Just pick your favorite and keep repeating. And the whole idea is not to over-dramatize, just hairs growing and falling. Don't have to over-imagine any kind of scenario. Once you start to think of different characters, that is already becoming birth, the suffering kind of birth. So in this case, the reflection of birth and death, it's a detachment kind of birth and death, which shouldn't lead to sorrow. If let's say the more you meditate, the more sorrow. Some people meditate, impurities of the body, so sorrowful, so sad, so angry with the body. Then something is wrong with their meditation. And then you can observe the so-called process of detachment. Emphasis is always on impermanence. Don't chase on the different phenomenon, whatever joy or peace. Once you hold on to it and forget about impermanence, then everything will be gone very fast. It's like when we talk about rowing the boat, the metaphor of rowing the boat, you need to row for the boat to move. If you just focus on the boat moving and don't row, then the boat will stop altogether. Always continue paddling, keep on generating right thought, keep on reflecting on impermanence, keep labeling impermanence. Must label, sub-vocalization have to be there. That is part of right thought. If you just count the image and don't label, then very easy to go into dramas. Then we can ask ourselves, are these hairs truly self? Can we tell the hairs not to go through birth and death? Next, we can think of the nails, fingernails and toenails. May they be well and happy. So once you already experience the detachment from before, it should be easier to calm down the mind. So one of the hacks to calm down the mind quick is have certain mastery of detachment. So once you have certain key moments or certain skill to detach immediately, trigger these factors of this Dhamma, joy or tranquility, then it's easier to proceed in your meditation. Okay, then we are going to now reflect on impermanence of the nails. All the nails go through birth, aging, sickness, death. And we just think of the nails growing and falling, many, many cycles. And as we keep looping the process, we can keep labeling impermanence. Then we can ask ourselves, are these nails truly self? Can we tell the nails not to go through birth and death? So the next part of the body, we're going to think of the teeth, all the teeth inside the mouth. May they be well and happy. And all these teeth go through birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So we think of the teeth growing and falling, many cycles. And as we keep looping the process, we can keep labeling impermanence. And we can ask ourselves, are these teeth truly self? So we need to observe the sense of self, right? The state of mind, mindfulness of state of mind, a mind with delusion or a mind without delusion, a mind that is surpassed or unsurpassed. The sense of selfishness, this ego, is it increasing or decreasing in intensity? Okay, then the next part of the body, we're going to think of the skin. And the skin throughout the body, we're going to wish them well and happy. Every patch of skin, may they be well and happy. All the skin are subject to birth, aging, sickness, and passing away. So we think of the skin growing and falling, many cycles. And as we keep looping this image, we can keep labeling impermanence. And then we can ask ourselves, are the skin truly self? Can we tell the skin not to go through birth and death? The next phase of meditation, we are switching to the 4 elements. We familiarize ourselves with the sensations of the 4 elements. So this one, there's no visualization. You cannot visualize the heat element or the wind element unless you have heat vision or something. So we are just going to use sensations. So the earth, fire, wind, water. Earth represents any hard or soft sensations. Fire element is the hot and cold sensations. Wind element represents any kind of movement, fast or slow movements. And water element is the moist or dry sensations. So there's no need to imagine or superimpose, don't have to create the sensations. Let it appear naturally by themselves. So the concept is the same thing. Whatever arises, we are going to wish them well and happy. So everything now is real-time evidence. And we keep repeating, new sensation appear, may they be well and happy. New sensation appear, may they be well and happy. New sensation means new body contact. New body contact, if you leave it unattended, means subject to clinging. So every moment to moment is subject to clinging or detachment. Okay, the mind settled to this baseline emotion. We call it baseline, as in no jhana, no factors of awakening yet. And this is the neutral state of mind. And we use it as a comparison. So now we are going to, let's say, cultivate this sublime state of compassion. So we're going to wish, may all beings, may they be free from suffering. Above, below, and all across, boundless compassion. No need to push the mind, let it extend naturally by itself. However far you wish to extend doesn't matter. So we call this the expanded mind. And in that widened area of attention, whatever sensation you can detect, we are going to wish, may all beings be free from suffering. So in this routine, no visualization, no dramas, no visualization. We use the lowest common denominator. All beings are made of the aggregates, the elements. So this non-discrimination. Whatever sensation you detect, all beings are sort of partially made of it also. So we're going to wish all beings free from suffering. New sensation appear, may all beings be free from suffering. And this sensation may appear inside the body, outside the body, near or far, doesn't matter. You detect something only, may all beings be free from suffering. So if you turn the Dhamma wheel, activate this, or you keep on having conditions of right thought, right effort, everything, it will activate this right concentration. So the so-called jhanas that associated with compassion would be the second jhana. So if let's say experience some kind of joy or happiness, then that would be the second jhana. Jhanic compassion. So it's not the sorrowful kind of compassion, that would be the mundane kind of compassion. And regardless of what you experience, keep on wishing may all beings be free from suffering. Keep rowing the boat, keep turning the Dhamma wheel. And you may notice that the so-called joy from these jhanas is different from the detachment one, different from the 7 factors, and also it lasts longer as long as you keep on wishing may all beings be free from suffering, and it will be there. Okay, and now we're switching to this insight portion, and we're going to reflect how to overcome suffering. So we suffer because we cling to the aggregates. So in order to not suffer, then we shouldn't cling to the aggregates. So we're going to shake it off, shake off this clinging with impermanence. So the same evidence, real-time evidence, whatever sensation appear, instead of labeling may all beings be free from suffering, we're going to label this impermanence. whatever happened, keep rowing the boat, keep reflecting on impermanence, and whatever joy that appear will be very different from the previous one. When you row the boat, treat everything as passing scenery. Don't have to langgar into the scenery. Okay, let's say the joy and happiness start to subside, then one may experience a calm, a blank or very spacious experience. Then we call that the perception of infinite space. And regardless of what you experience, keep on rowing the boat and not get lost in space. Keep on reflecting on impermanence. So this is in tandem. There's both formless kind of concentration going on, and at the meantime there's also might have the 7 factors of concentration going on in tandem. As long as you keep reflecting impermanence, then there will be this insight related concentration. Okay, and before we end the session, same gentle reminder, as long as we're mindful of the sublime states or mindful of impermanence, and this is the noblest living, and with that we can gently open our eyes, formally end the session, informally still can generate right thought. All right, any questions or issues from anyone? Okay, Anumodana, dedicating merits. Akasata ca Bhumata Devanaga Mahidika Punyang Tang Anumoditva Chirang Rakantu Loka Sasanam Etavata ca Amhehi Sampadang Punya Sampadang Sabe Deva Sabe Bhuta Sabe Sata Anumodantu Sabba Sampati Siddhya. Dedication of merits to the departed. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Aspiration. Imina punya kamena mame bala samagamo. Satang samagamo hotu. Yava Nibbana Patiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, and we can end off by paying respects to the Buddha by bowing 3 times. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Okay, then additional announcement about the retreat in June. You can scan, take a picture. Any announcements from Terence?
No, Bante.
Okay, if not, then good night and see you all next week.